This episode of Bonded Voices is brought to you by iCoat Products. iCoat Products make living spaces beautiful with decorative concrete and epoxy products from iCoat. Visit them online at www.icoatproducts.com. Enter the coupon code BV1, Bonded Voices 1, and get 12% off at checkout.
Lately, I've been thinking, I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier.
Welcome back to Bonded Voices. This is episode 2 of a special 3-part series focused on friendship. What builds friendship? The Great Friendship Recession was what we talked about in episode 1. Tonight we're going to talk about, was it the booze or was it the bond? I'm Greg.
I'm Ian.
This is Lauren.
So in episode 1, we talked about how there's a significant downfall in friendships. As men get older and older, the number of friendships that they determine or designate as friendships has decreased. So what we want to talk about today is some of the things that we experienced that helped us build what we believed were friendships, and then maybe explore a little bit into what's it going to look like in 30 years for the people that are building friendships now in their teenage years.
And Greg, I think that we should cover why this is important, just to reiterate it. If you look at the stats we covered in episode 1, the suicide level amongst men, the loneliness quotient, all of the negative things that men, and it isn't boo-hoo, poor little men, as we get older, go through, because it has real ramifications, not just for families, but for greater society as well. So that's why this is a really important issue to actually cover.
Right. I think in the last episode, we talked about how while we were younger and up until we got married and we had significant others, we used to do a lot of crazy things. But then once we settle down, our lives kind of mellow out and we don't get to do I feel like I'm on house arrest there, but we used to do hopefully I won't get in trouble for this one.
Yeah, right.
But
okay,
we used
this is Lauren, if she's listening.
But we used to do a lot more crazy stuff when we didn't have as much responsibility when we were younger. So, I mean, I think we all have memories like from when we were younger. Did we do something that was crazy that we'd probably be mad at our kids for if they did today?
Hey, Lauren, I was actually just thinking this along the lines of pre-marriage and post-marriage. And you're in the military, right? For guys who were married in the military, and the military has a bit of a reputation for crazy stuff, right? Did you notice a difference between the married military guys and the non-married military guys?
Well, because I was a non-married military guy, I don't think I really noticed anything that that would be in those realms. We're, still doing stupid stuff, so I don't think we focused on the people that weren't doing stupid stuff.
Would it be a guess to say that even the married guys, because they were in a similar age group, were just as reckless and that?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I hate to say this, but, in the Marines, there was a lot of people that married, what do they call them, midnight ballerinas, because of just the craziness and the lifestyle that we were around.
Yeah, and it actually talks to something I've been thinking about, actually, which is they say that children and marriage mature men, but I wonder how much it feels like being married when you're not at home, you're out with all the guys because you're in the military,
sure.
You're on base, you're deployed, all that sort of thing. And in some cases, I think they were talking the other day about one of the aircraft carriers, the guys haven't been on land in like 10 months. Like 10 months. Like, that's crazy, especially for those guys who are married.
That's surprising that they haven't hit port in 10 months.
10 months.
Well, they probably hit port, but they're not, it may be a weekend liberty. It's not like we've got a month off.
Oh, I would imagine they will pack a month worth of fun into that weekend.
Yeah, at least try. So why don't we actually talk about that? That's a good segue, actually, Greg, to talking about, using these as exemplaries for people to understand that hopefully if you survive some of these crazy anecdotes when you were younger, that you can actually look back on them, give good advice for the next generation to come, but understand maybe why.
And what not to do.
Right, yeah, exactly. And why we go down those roads.
I think we all have a story of, do you remember that one time? And, did we survive? Yeah, we survived, but we definitely have some great stories from it.
So maybe let's even start and trigger some memories for guys out there. Let's go back to teens.
Okay.
Because I think that's where it probably should start, with some of the things we would do. Obviously, very few guardrails in place when you and your dumbass friends are hanging out together. And
The
it's like,
intellectual symposium, if you will.
yeah, exactly. And so, you think about some of the stuff. And I actually remember we had a ruin of an old castle in our park. And it was just made one wall of a castle, but it was maybe about 6-8 foot thick. And it had a chimney in the middle, so it was one of the areas of the old castle that had the chimney. Maybe that was a fire for a room. And then 2 huge window areas that had nothing but stone, and then there was a big hole. And then there was the top. We would climb the thing with no ropes, no net. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you were up 40, 50, 60 feet in the air.
Sure.
Or we'd climb up the chimney with legs and arms against each side of this small chimney that's
climbing.
maybe about 3 foot wide.
Right.
And you'd look down and go, oh my goodness, if I fall, it's just like to the bottom. And then you get up and there was a hole you get up and you look at, and everyone had to do it.
Sure. Yeah.
And there were kids who got hurt. We actually had, in that park where we do that sort of thing, I remember they had a scaffolding on it, and we were all on this, because the scaffolding, it had all these signs, keep off the scaffolding. And we were climbing up, and my brother slipped and went down and landed legs apart right on to his testicles, right on this pole. And he luckily grabbed on and held there, kind of screaming, but he didn't fall the next 30 feet to the ground.
Oh. Was he...
They had a high voice after that. Yeah.
So it's a bonding moment, right? Everyone back then probably, remember when
Yeah.
so-and-so fell off the scaffolding? That was crazy. I'm doing it next week.
Well, it's sort of a survival moment as well, because it was almost, I don't know whether it wasn't smart. Let's not sort of conflate things. Because I remember we always had these horse chestnut trees as well. And they were huge, big trees, like the size of big pine trees. Mm-hmm. And we would climb into that. And then one kid was going along a branch, slipped, fell and died. Oh. And I still remember him splatting on the pavement.
Wow.
Yeah. And
How old?
He was probably about 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
No, it does, but it's the same with the castle. We'd hear stories, and every now and again see ambulances up there as they're sort of shuffling someone into an ambulance. So
I'm surprised they didn't tear it down.
Well, it can't. It's historic, and it's actually thought to be, because I grew up in a place called Coventry, and this castle, Caledon Castle, if you look it up, archaeologists actually think it could be the ancestral home of St. George.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it has even more meaning because of that as well. So, yeah, and in the times they found wells and other things in that area, and then they had digs going on everywhere to find new areas. But
so when's the last time you've climbed a castle wall?
When I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
See.
Check the box. He doesn't need to do it again.
No, I didn't need to do it then, but it's something you did.
So are you still friends with anybody that you climbed the castle wall with?
Other than my brother, no.
Would your brother have the same memory?
He'd probably have a painful memory because he's the one.
He's like, I can't believe you told me.
Yeah.
He's like, you told me to climb. You said it was safe.
But amazingly, as I say, he actually survived it. Well, the other thing is, talking about these horse chestnut trees, we would throw sticks up to knock the horse chestnuts down, or we'd play a game called Conkers as kids. probably the modern version of Fortnite, right? But not really. You drilled a hole to them, you put a string, you have to break each other's conkers, going back to my youth. But one kid found a tire iron, and he thought, well, if I throw this up in the tree, it knocks them down even better than these sticks. So my brother looks up, and this tire iron hit him straight in the head, the same brother as well. And actually, things come in threes because we were also having a stone fight with these other kids.
Oh, a good old-fashioned stone fight.
And my brother was the only one wearing glasses, and it smashed one of his glasses. And so think about it, if he wasn't wearing glasses.
Did your brother consider himself lucky or unlucky?
I'm going to have to ask him, because you've really brought back a lot of memories with this, so it's going to have to be something to ask. What about you guys?
So that's well, hold on. We can't let this go without the whole reason why we don't have lawn darts anymore. Was because they impaled too many people.
Yeah,
so,
right.
What you were doing in Coventry was probably the predecessor to the, I don't know what toy manufacturer made it, but we would have those big plastic fins on the back with the, I don't know, 6 inches of steel on the nose of it, and you'd throw them up in the air, and they would spin around and then build velocity going down, and they would stick into the ground.
I know they build a lot of velocity.
And they'd also stick into your head or any other body part.
Right, I imagine. Yeah. Were they a toy?
Yeah.
That was a toy, yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was before, what was it? What do we play now? Bags with...
cornhole?
Cornhole. It was before cornhole. We used darts.
Yeah, now we have a breakout of corn and dust instead of someone being impaled.
The modern left would have probably put a warning on it, may cause cancer. Yeah. It's like... But yeah, okay, that's me. But what... You guys are teens.
Well, I did a lot of my teens out here in Arizona, and where we're at now used to be close to open desert. So we used to have a lot of shenanigans, if I could say that, out in the desert. And we had huge bonfires that, unregulated bonfire in the desert where we would sit there and, so you could stand in the middle of the fire the longest.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
Or a real popular thing to do was surfing, hood surfing, where it was pitch black out. Someone gets their truck going, and you see how long you can stay on the hood of the car or the truck while it's running.
Did you guys ever climb the power lines?
We never climbed power lines.
Okay.
Is this an admission?
Well, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
just
asking for a friend.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren and I have had this conversation more than once, and I think that we were probably both in the same place at the same time while we were in high school. Didn't know each other and didn't realize what our paths in the future would bring to us. But most of these memories for me of the I can't believe I survived that were when it was dark out. It wasn't a morning hike where someone got really crazy and did something stupid. It tended to be after the sun went down.
Right.
It also tended to be after some potential liquid encouragement.
You know what's funny though?
Definitely there.
You just mentioned liquid encouragement. I was actually just about to say, it's interesting to think that I think a lot of women think men, when they drink, do really stupid things. But I was just giving examples of absolutely non-drinking stupid things, and you guys piled on. So maybe let's pivot into our 20s. When
because we never drank in our teens.
Because we waited till we were 21.
I know, but think about it. It's like what, Pabst Blue Ribbon, or you end up finding out you feel drunk as a skunk and find out you've been drinking non-alcoholic beer. But then you get to be a more serious drinker in your 20s, right? And then really stupid stuff happens, and I'll default to one of you two for this part because I didn't drink for a lot of my 20s.
You didn't?
No.
Oh.
I didn't start drinking until I was 25.
Wow.
Really? I gave up when I was 14 and then started again.
I gave up when I was, wow. Okay.
No, I'm serious.
So there's
not a lot.
We're not gonna talk about pre-14.
Yeah. So, yeah. So no, just that I'd had drinks is what I mean until I was about 14. Then I just basically gave up till I was like 25.
Well, I think a lot of our stories ended up memorable because we were drinking, because anyone in their right mind wouldn't get on the hood of a car and go, okay, this seems like a valid thing to do. Or, hey, we're going to do a bonfire, and whoever can stand in the fire the longest wins.
So let me loft out a question. if you were to reminisce with someone that you shared some of those experiences with, it would typically start with, do you remember this particular event, this particular night, this particular party, whatever it was? And that, I think, has some hidden meaning where it's possible that the participants may not remember it, may not have remembered it the next morning. And so there might have been situations where we're like, oh my gosh, well, Johnny's had way too much to drink. Let's pour him into the car and get him home safely, knock on the door and get him into his parents' house. But
or leave him in the driveway and, speed away.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I would imagine that might have happened at some point. Yeah.
With you guys being in America, were guns involved in stupidity in your late teens, 20s?
Oh, most definitely for me. Most definitely.
Well, being military as well, I can imagine.
Well, yeah. Our paths were different, Lauren's and mine, but I don't ever remember crossing if we were firing off guns, there wasn't alcohol involved. Might have been hungover from the night before.
Well, that's good. That's a positive sign. A little common sense kicking in there.
We had a time where we were at a desert party, and this is when I was in college. I think I just started college, and we're in the middle of the desert. The tap broke to the keg. Someone had a gun, and the great idea was, we'll shoot it, and we'll puncture the keg. And surprisingly enough, kegs are a lot more resilient than you would think. And I think we only had a 22 at the time, so it was ricocheting everywhere. We eventually got into it. But this is one of those memories.
After 38 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have a tap anymore, but we also didn't have cups. So I remember drinking beer through a hole in the side of the keg into a hubcap and drinking beer out of a hubcap.
Okay, male bonding.
That's something you wouldn't do in a normal situation. So, were the craziest of crazy times? What was the ratio of male to female? Was it crazier when it was just the guys?
Oh yeah.
Or was it crazier when the girls were around because the alpha male competition, the peacocking, the look at me?
No, because I think it was always when it was the guys were left alone to their own device.
Yeah.
Because we had no one to rein us in. Because usually
there was no like, oh, that's too stupid. No,
right. Exactly.
That's a challenge.
It's funny that as crazy as these stories are, they do actually create bonds between men. And I grew up with, I had two boys in my marriage, and it was always a case
Still
of
have them.
Yeah. Helping my wife understand that they are going to fight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it would drive her batty initially, and I had to train her into they are going to do this. And you have to let this happen, and I'm probably going to join in at some point too. So I think every good father has to wrestle with his son.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Until they can beat you, and then I'm done. Yeah.
Well, I think that you're absolutely right, and that's an interesting dynamic depending upon what your spouse's experience was growing up, and did they grow up in a household of boys and girls, or just one sex or the other, to determine how tolerant they are.
Well, didn't we talk in the pre-show? All three of us pretty much had wives with only sisters.
Majority.
Sisters,
yeah. Sure.
Yeah, vast majority.
Yeah, so some of the things that we grew up with, environments when we were young, would not have been acceptable.
Right. And look, there's a point where all of this chaos that men bring as they're growing up and maturing actually builds their character. I think some of it actually helps mold them positively into who they are, because we still, as a society, as we see, just watch the news for 5 seconds, need men who are willing to put themselves in harm's way. And you can't have a safe upbringing, I don't think, and then all of a sudden jump into putting yourselves in harm's way. I think that there has to be a certain amount of recklessness to run into fire as in gunfire or fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a certain amount of recklessness in a person to want to do that.
So I wonder if it goes even deeper into the beginning of mankind and cavemen activity of kind of establishing your own brotherhood and who's going to be there to fight with you, who you want to go into battle with. So the stupidity that we went through, although it might have been fueled by alcohol, I wonder if it was something that had happened for generations and generations and generations before us. I'm not sure if it's happening today.
Well, you wouldn't, that's a good point. You wouldn't have wanted to go into battle with someone who wasn't a certain amount reckless.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, go back, especially to hand-to-hand combat and then to trench warfare, like...
You want the crazy guy beside you because...
Absolutely.
Yeah, he leads the way.
The berserkers, they were the crazy guys. You want them.
I want the guy that nobody knows what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, we used that word a lot when we were kids, berserker.
Really?
Yeah, 'cause it's an idea of like someone who was just absolutely crazy as a dog, and they were just, you never knew when they were just going to like spiral from the Tasmanian devil and just like go off. But here's a thought. So I think you're right with that, and I think there's even within these silly stories, there's a certain amount of importance in these, and I think for our listeners out there, reminiscing with your friends around these old stories is not a bad thing to do. To one, realize you weren't the only crazy person out there, but to understand that, you know, this is something that, you know, crosses men of all types in this way. But the 30-year question, like, what's this? Well, actually, let's start today, Greg. What's it look like today? And then what's it going to look like in 30 years? Because like you said, is it happening today?
I don't think that the young men of today, and what I'm referring to are guys that are in their teenage years at this point, either they are amazingly proficient at doing some really crazy stuff and we as parents never find out, which is possible, or maybe they're not doing the level of crazy, arguably very stupid things that we did.
So I've got a quick story. One of my sons is in San Diego, and they went down to this area on the cliff where the waves were really rough, and there was like a 20-foot jump into the ocean. And he jumped in and realized he couldn't get out.
Oh.
The waves were slamming him up against the rocks, and they said that it was like they had people chained together reaching down for him to drag him out. I'm sitting there going, ugh. And then he said he snorkeled into a cave. And then he realized he was in a cave and kind of freaked out.
You know what? Hey, maybe it's alive and well.
My family, it seems to be. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I really encouraged all my kids to play sports in college and that. So you have this, you know, shared experience of the bus ride or jumping into a, you know, certain death.
So we're in San Diego. Were those teammates? Was that the circle?
A couple of them were. Yeah.
Okay.
They were the housemates he was all living with, and they probably had some crazy stories from the house, because we would get calls from the landlord saying, if they have a party on the roof of the house one more time, and we're like,
one more time.
Man.
The previous 9 were okay.
Yeah.
We're drawing the line at 10.
There are chairs up there and everything.
Well, so what really stinks for the modern guys is that everything's recorded. When we were kids,
good point.
In our teens and 20s, nothing was recorded because, you know, as you were talking pre-show about statute of limitations, I mean, could you imagine if he had video of some of the stuff that we did? Ugh.
Yeah. So how much of our perception of some of the kids acting in a less dangerous way is based on how they're raised versus actually listening to their parents saying, hey, don't get recorded doing anything stupid?
Well, I tell my kids that all the time. My youngest had some friends over a couple weeks ago. It was, I think it was beginning of spring break, so I guess a week or so ago. And all the guys were back from college from all over the place, and they were playing video of all the stupid stuff they did in high school their senior year. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad I didn't know this while you were in high school. But good for you for having this type of experience that you can look back on and go, yeah, we did this stupid stuff.
Okay, so the fishing story. Is it better that these were recorded or not recorded? Because the stories get better. So the wall in Coventry that's part of this castle, it's actually only 30 feet instead of 70 feet or whatever it might be. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the fishing stories of, when we
they
shot
get better
up
with
the
age.
Keg, right. When
it's
we
like a
shot up
fine
the keg,
whiskey.
We didn't have anything, so we used a hubcap. Well, it was actually a really rusty hubcap that had tetanus in it. Well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe someone found, like, the stories get better with time, and if you have video footage of it, it never gets better.
Yeah, that's a good point. The nostalgia of it gets a nice patina.
Or maybe based on all the other videos you see, you're like, that's not that bad.
Oh, that is wow.
Yeah, I've got to up my game.
Wow.
I only got 100 views on this.
TMZ exists for. Wow.
So I didn't do a lot of scrolling, but I saw this video the other night where these two kids were fighting, and one kid picked the other one up and basically slammed him on his head. And the kid's there limp, and the title said, "One boy kills the other boy in a fight." And the funny part is I was kind of horrified. And then I see in the first comment was, "Oh, he wasn't really dead. I saw him move his hand at the end." I'm like, if you saw the way he got slammed on his head,
right?
Like, there's no way this kid was normal after this. There's not a chance. So there's those, but talk about perception. One person's looking like, "Oh, I saw him move his hands. He's fine afterwards."
Right.
Fine? No.
Or they're cliff jumping. He went off a 20-foot cliff. Okay, well, now I've got to do a 40-foot cliff.
Right. It's just crazy. So 30-year question, Laura. What's it going to be like in 30 years if we're even seeing like a softening? And maybe it isn't a softening, but like the amount of surveillance, helicopter parents, everything else. We're going to need reckless boys in 30 years' time. Dangers in the world don't really change much. So how do we end up with boys who are willing to rush in where angels fear to tread in 30 years' time?
Well, in 30 years, hopefully they're not the ones, running into battle. It's their kids that, be our grandkids at that time. I don't know. I hope
Does
that
it ebb and flow? Do we have periods of time where there's more craziness, less craziness from this 5-year group in this age category? Wow, there's a higher level of crime activity. There's whatever it might be.
That's a good point.
Will we see a situation where in 30 years the young men at that point in time are going to be very alpha, very fighting with everybody?
Maybe, but all I can think as we've talked this through is the movie Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
Right? The chaos of the Second World War, D-Day, everything else created the most amazing friendships that the people who made that movie said, these guys remained friends for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. They all went to each other's funerals as they were whittling down. And it was a bonding experience that was incredible. Now, it's war. It's an admirable moment, as long as you're on the winning side. And you look at it and say to yourself, wow, that really creates really strong bonds. Now, I said earlier, like, a lot of my crazy bonding things, I don't have friendships with those people anymore. Mm-hmm. Not maybe purposely, maybe not purposely, but I just don't.
Yeah.
Greg, do you still talk to any of your crazy buddies?
Yeah, I do. I was thinking about this earlier when we were discussing this as a topic of, in some cases, it might be alienating. So if you attend a gathering and if two guys are off talking about how crazy it was when they were in high school, and you're like, "Oh, dude, I went to high school with you too. I guess
I didn't go to that party.
I didn't, whatever." And so bringing it back into the purpose of this discussion, the shared experiences, was it the alcohol that made it okay? Was that just the lubricant that people could blame it on? Was it a placebo? If everybody was drinking non-alcoholic, would we still have acted as crazy? Probably.
Yeah, I'm going with it wasn't the alcohol. I think it's just men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think guys, we're wired a little bit differently at that age where recklessness is, you want to be the cool kid, so I'm going to do the more crazy thing.
So back to the 30-year thing, because we keep bringing this up, but we don't have a solution. What will be the bonding experience of these generations, of this generation? If it wasn't the alcohol-fueled late-night stupidity, which arguably may have not been alcohol-fueled.
Well, I'm going with it isn't the alcohol, it's testosterone. And I think thinking now more about both my kids, I think they're doing it and we just don't hear about it. And we did it and our parents didn't hear about it. So
yeah, definitely. I don't think if my parents knew the dangerous stuff that I did, they would have had a heart attack.
Yeah.
But I do know with my sons, they have a set of friends, and especially with my youngest, the football team. Everybody on the football team.
That's a great bonding experience.
Yeah, it's that shared experience, the shared struggle.
I don't know of any other sports that build that brotherhood better than football.
Yeah. Right.
Football is the key there.
Yeah.
Maybe rugby, but I don't know.
Yeah, I probably would. So, yeah, that's episode 2. Looking to round this off in episode 3. And if you haven't listened to episode 1 and you listen here, go back, listen to episode 1, then listen to this one again. And then next week we'll have episode 3 for you.
And what are we going to talk about in episode 3? Isn't it about learning how to keep this bond going and create new bonds now?
Yep.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. So jump on the website. Let us know what you guys think about this. We did discuss before this that we think the statute of limitations is only still in place on if someone has expired, if someone murdered or died. So I think everything else we're pretty safe to share. If you want to share some gnarly stories with us, we'd love the opportunity to hear them and have a good chuckle.
Yeah. So until next time on Bonded Voices, I'm Ian.
I'm Greg.
This is Lauren.
And we'll see you again soon.